M. Night Shyamalan's latest project, Glass, is the long-awaited sequel to Unbreakable and the sequel to Split. I'm Elizabeth Wagmeister, here with our chief film critic, Owen Gleiberman.
So you're not going to shake my hand and let me walk out of here?
Good for you.
There's a lot of buzz about it, it's highly anticipated, but we've got to talk about M. Night Shyamalan. Of course, he broke out on the scene with a huge hit in The Sixth Sense. Then his next film was Unbreakable, and it really cemented him as a huge director in this industry. He had a ton of other hits, but then he had a mid-career slump. Then, of course, Split, which was his most recent project before Glass, made nearly $300 million at the box office. It was a huge hit. Is Glass the film that can really solidify him once again as a filmmaker?
M. Night really did go into a slump there for a while, and I think at a certain point he could have almost made a horror movie about a big film director who's at the top of his game and then over time becomes a punchline because he becomes known only for his twist endings. I was glad to see him have a comeback with Split, a huge hit, but it wasn't my favorite movie. However, I was really keen to see Glass because Unbreakable is my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's the M. Night movie that I feel closest to in terms of the characters. It has a quality of mystery, a sort of hauntedness about it. It came out in 2001, kind of at the beginning of the comic book movie cycle, and it is a comic book movie, but it's not about special effects. It's about the Bruce Willis character, this kind of sad sack security guard who very slowly and in this kind of tormented way discovers that he's a superhero. And in that way, I think Unbreakable really went back to the spirit of the comic books, much more than movies like the Marvel films do. They really are about flying all around and the physical feats, but the old comic books were about mostly what was going on inside the characters and this sense of the Bruce Willis character, David Dunn, kind of discovering, almost to his horror, who he is. So I really wanted to see a sequel to this. But I would say Glass, very watchable movie, but a disappointment at the same time because I don't think it really makes good on that special quality Unbreakable had.
I found someone who will require your full potential to come out. A superhuman serial killer.
Don't do this.
How can we be the only ones?
Maybe we believe something that isn't even true.
I didn't think this was an awful movie. I actually think that he has his mojo back as a director. Scene for scene, this movie, which takes place in an insane asylum, and the plot is basically that Samuel L. Jackson's character, Elijah Price, such a great tormented character in Unbreakable, he's back. He's been in the asylum the whole time. The James McAvoy character, who has 24 kind of self-adoring characters inside him, the Mr. Split personality, he's in the loony bin as well. And then they throw Bruce Willis in there because he is evidently suffering from this delusion that he's a superhero. And the plot is basically, can Elijah Price use James McAvoy's character to break them both out of the asylum, and can Bruce get out to sort of save everything? And, you know, it's a very basic story. It's told okay, but it doesn't have any mystery to it. We see Bruce Willis in his security guard rain poncho rescuing people. We go, really? This guy's been wearing that as a costume for 20 years?
Do you think it was worth the wait?
The idea that he's doing it now and the way that he just tacked on a minute of Unbreakable at the end of Split, all of that feels a little bit opportunistic to me. I mean, not any worse than what the movie industry normally does, but it seems like M. Night Shyamalan with this movie is kind of trying to create his own low-budget Philadelphia version of the M. Night Shyamalan cinematic universe. But I'll tell you what I'd really like to see M. Night Shyamalan do. I would like to see him direct a movie that has the luxury of not being based on one of his own scripts, because I think he's actually a better director than he is screenwriter. I'd like to see him break out of that box and maybe, yes, leave those twist endings aside, because look, Glass has a couple of twist endings and they're just okay. And in a way, those endings don't really work unless they blow your mind. That's the bar he set for himself, and I think Glass is an okay movie that barely makes it over.